Bernie, I was training and sparring pretty regularly. I decided to go live. I mean, because it takes usually a while for people to come in, since
Right,
we're
right. That's
live.
cool.
So usually when I start my shows, we usually shoot shit a little bit. Anyway, welcome guys. Fred Hampton Leftist. I have this new series I'm starting, Black Liberation Politics. The whole point of me starting the channel, and anyone who followed my content ever since I started as a black political commentator, know that my main goal is forming solidarity among the black leftists. And one of my absolute favorite voices on Black Left Twitter, and someone I knew I had to get on the show immediately when we started Fred Hampton Leftist, was my good friend Anthony Clark. How you doing, brother?
I'm good, brother. Hey, it's feelings mutual. When you started the show, I think I sent you a message. I was like, hey,
Yeah,
let's get on soon. So no, I really appreciate your voice in this movement and in the struggle. So thank you for all that you do.
yeah, absolutely, man. And like I said, I definitely had to talk to you about this because I know like when I see you, the work that you do, it like embodies the work of Fred Hampton and exactly kind of politics that I want to advocate for. I'm gonna get this video tweeted out so people know we are live. But
Sure.
what I was saying before COVID, like I was sparring pretty regularly. I mean, I've been doing this for a very long time, and I still had dreams of grandeur of eventually taking a few pro fights. I think it'd be very fun. I'm very very confident in
Hey,
my
do
ability,
it.
so look forward to
Right.
that.
Do it. I believe in affirmation, so get it done. I'll come watch you. I'll come support for real.
Hell yeah, hell yeah. Trust me, it's gonna happen. Like, right now, I'm in preparation, and I always joke that I want to go around and train my comrades in martial arts because I really do think, in all seriousness, especially with us being black men, it's even more. I'm gonna get the link tweet out here now.
Yeah.
That we also learn martial arts, not even
I
just.
agree. I agree.
Go ahead, go ahead.
No, I'm just listening. I agree with you. I
Yeah,
agree 100%.
yeah, all not just for self defense. It's obviously one of the most important reasons, but for mental health, for general activity, for community. I mean, when I got into martial arts and once I started training martial arts, that changed my life.
Agreed. Agreed. Yeah. I mean, of course, I think as a shorty, as a kid, like a lot of kids, I entered into karate, but I was so young. I was a huge fan of Bruce Lee, Jim
Yeah,
Kelly, the black exploitation films back in the day where everybody knew karate in the hood somehow. So I did karate for a minute, got out of it. But when I went into the military, I'm sure we'll talk about that a little bit, not by
yeah, absolutely.
choice, how we chop up about the poverty draft, but, got back into boxing, got into MMA a little bit. And I think it's interesting to me how I think so many people on Twitter or online, like they talk that ish, right? Like they're ready for a revolution, but you
Yeah,
got to make those connections. Like if it really goes down, what is a revolution going to look like? And you need that mental and physical preparedness. You need that mental and physical discipline. You need to be ready, and you need to know how to defend yourself. So I 100% agree with you, and communicating that and educating people to the importance of training and learning how to better defend themselves out there is important, because I know a lot of these alt-right cats, they out there in the woods,
yeah.
they got their weapons, their knives, they think they Rambo, they think they Steven Seagal, so they out there training. So we got to train as well.
Yeah, I want to go around and have like free martial art training as a form of mutual aid. Give these wingers a real reason to be afraid of Antifa, right?
No
Like,
question, no question.
because right now the right wing pretend that Antifa is like filled with these like assassins or something, like these badasses. They're just activists. I mean, I would love to
Right.
give these people a reason to fear them.
No
But
question.
me in my personal life, I'm not, and I don't know anyone like this as well because I grew up in a fight culture in a way. Like we always like off our version of fun back in the day where we get around and we see who the badass like we play
Right, right,
body and that's kind of what we did growing up. So
right.
with that background, I don't know anyone who's like super terrified of the Proud Boys and far right wingers. My mindset is bring it on. I mean, if someone's
Right,
gonna get me by gun, it's gonna happen. Nothing I can do about it. But because my background's a martial artist, I'm not walking around with this like sense of tension all the time, and
right.
people don't understand how liberating that is just not to have that. But you know
No question.
who I am afraid of? I'm
Who?
afraid of the police. Like
No,
I told
no question. No
this is
question.
the disconnect, and because a lot of white leftists, a lot of people who are not from our community, they over assess over like the right wing boogeyman. And don't get me wrong, there is some legit concerns to have over radicalized right wingers. But if you look at the state of Black Americans and what we go through, like I'm not worried about that. I'm more worried about our state. Like you more likely
Right.
to be George Floyd, something like that. So you brought up the draft. I kind of want to pick your brain on this, and because I think this kind of segues to I want to talk about Netflix. Because another reason I'm bringing you on, and when I bring these Black leftists on, I want to share their point of view and how they got to where they are right now. So
Right.
I just want to learn a little bit more about your experiences. You say you were drafted, and how that or what you was in the military. How did that eventually shape your current political views, and how did your political evolution start, Anthony?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, thank you so much. It's a wonderful question. I think my experience is the experience of so many others, even though I make I statements and don't want to overgeneralize. What I tell people often is I was drafted into the poverty draft. Because when we think about the system that exists and the trillions of dollars that are spent on our military industrial complex, our government purposely sets it up to maintain a steady flow of service members into the military. And how they set it up is our government is not addressing the housing situation and housing insecurity. Our government is not addressing food insecurity and starvation. Our government is not addressing poverty. Our government is not addressing the predatory practices of colleges and college lending companies and so on and so forth. So then you get to a point like myself as a young Black male trying to find myself, trying to discover myself, recognizing that while my parents love me and would do anything for me, we didn't come from generational social economic capital. So when it came time to I couldn't even really think about college because they didn't go to
Yeah,
college and they definitely didn't have the money to send me to college. So FAFSAs and all that were foreign to us. And it wasn't like the school was really sitting me down and educating, me to this.
that's
So
giant.
what does the military offer? The military offers to pay for your school if you're interested in going to school. The military offers housing. The military will feed you 3 square meals a day. You see what I'm saying? And you have a guaranteed job. You have guaranteed employment. We talk about, federal job guarantees and so on and so forth. So the military hits you and they entice you with all these things. So if you're living and you're struggling and you know your parents are struggling and you no longer want to be a burden on your parents, oftentimes what other options do you have? I have an older brother that's been incarcerated the majority of his life. So I'm looking at that outlook and I'm saying, well, I could hit these streets, I could hustle, I could do this and that, possibly end up incarcerated or dead, or what is the option? And I actually, I'm a believe in transparency. I actually ended up getting in trouble. I moved to Atlanta a little bit after high school and I got into some mess with some money situations. I was stealing money and got caught. But thankfully, my uncle was a pastor in Atlanta and he worked with the company that I had stolen from. And basically, they just gave me an ultimatum. They're like, you gotta, either do something positive and make a choice, or we're going to press charges. So for me, it was just like, okay, the military. I'll get everything paid for. I'll get out of here, so on and so forth. So that's why I ended up going. And bro, like you say, training, right? There's so many individuals within the military that I truly believe are training. I had to work with, encounter every
Lewis,
day racist. You know what I'm saying? Like alt-right individuals.
I
I
am
didn't even know what
live, bro.
alt-right was. Hey, he's live. He's live. We talking. But now, I didn't even know what alt-right was then, but I knew for sure I encountered individuals that, for whatever reason, whether they were bullied as children, I mean, feel like we're all bullied, but they have those complexes in a sense, and they feel inferior to Black individuals and individuals of color and minorities. So they enter into the military because what does the military provide? They guarantee power, because if you have a rank on you, essentially you're supposed to have power over somebody else. So for me, I survived. I can never say I was a great service member. I was a hero. Like I literally got in trouble all of the time because you have people that would talk to you crazy, because you have people that would disrespect you, that were racist, that would demean you and think they owned you. And somebody built like I am, I'm not special, but how my father and mother raised me, you're not going to, I don't care what rank you are, you're not going to talk to me crazy. Like if
Yeah,
I give you respect, you're going to return respect to me. So it was a struggle. It was a struggle. I ended up getting shot in 2007. That led to PTSD, a lot of different issues, and I was medically discharged and returned home. So no, I end up with an honorable discharge and things of that nature. But military service is similar, because if you get a dishonorable discharge, that's that. Can I curse on here? because I just want to
Yeah,
make
yeah,
catch
yeah. Go
myself. I
ahead, bro.
curse.
I
Yeah,
curse like a
I curse. So,
sailor.
all right, so yeah, I have to catch myself, but that's damn
You
near
good?
like that's damn near like a federal charge. Like, you know what I'm saying, being convicted of a federal offense and being a felon, having a dishonorable discharge is going to be extremely difficult for you to get any type of employment that's beneficial to you and that would allow you to take care of your family. So I mean, you know, we could talk about this all day, but you know, where our military recruiters at? They're mostly in the hood. They're mostly in black and brown communities. These ROTC programs, it's all by design. It's all purposeful. So I can't make decisions for my students because I am currently a high school teacher, but I keep it 100 with them. I share with them my truth. And for me, you know, I hope they make every other decision besides going into the military. And lastly, because I know I've talked long,
No, go ahead, bro. Speak your
one
truth.
one of the biggest impacts of my military service was, you know, because we've been in these forever wars. And I was served in the Air Force, so we were in support basically. So we supported Marines, we supported the Army. But one thing I learned, and the biggest thing I took from the military outside of, you know, impacting and interacting with these races, is the fact that struggle is a universal language, you know, similar to what
Yes.
Chairman Fred Hampton believed and so on and so forth. Because these individuals that, you know how we use labels, right? Like indigenous individuals were savages, let's take their land. Africans are savages, let's enslave them. How we call, you know, human beings, you know, they're insurgents, they're terrorists, so on and so forth. These are humans. These are
Mm-hmm.
individuals that if I was born where they were born and they were born where I were born, we would most likely be in the same position. And struggle is universal. We might not speak the same language or have the same direct experiences, but we damn sure recognize poverty. You feel what I'm saying? So that's the one thing I definitely took away from the military.
Yeah, and what you laid out here and your personal story, I appreciate that you shared that because that story is important. That story, how the military uses poor people to get them to fight for U.S. imperialism. That's literally a textbook example of that. And I, especially ever since I've been discussing police abolition, and I've been very very quickly radicalized in that direction. I mean, I honestly don't think there's a lot of good cops out there because if you're a part of the system, you're complicit with it. You're not blowing the whistle. If you advance through the system, there's something wrong with you. That's why I tweet ACAB all the time. But you
Right.
notice what I don't do. You notice that I don't attack military service members. And I think there are a lot of people on the left that misunderstand it. They lump the two together. Do not lump police officers with people who serve in the military, because
Mm-hmm.
as Anthony point out here, and have a lot of lefty veterans. A lot of these people are tricked to serve, or they are forced to serve. Like if you look at the case of Anthony here, because that's your path to getting education and healthcare in this country. How sick is that?
No
Where
question.
you have people that literally sign up and may potentially die just for a chance to get healthcare and education, two things that should be offered as the benefit of being a civilian in this country. But you got to fight and die for it in this country.
No question. You got to fight a rich person's war in order to
Yep.
obtain it and access it. And if you question it, if you act up, is most likely you're going to end up incarcerated. Most likely you're going to end up with a dishonorable discharge, and they're going to ruin your life. You know, and they think they own you, and they honestly do. You know, for those years that you serve, recruiters are like pimps. They got that mouthpiece, that silver tongue. You know,
I
they
would have a
sell
hard
you
time
the
doing that. I would have
man,
a hard
they real
time doing
talk. They sell you
that.
these dreams because I'll never forget. And again, there's some accountability involved as well. It was on me also, but I had a decision to make between 4 years and 6 years. And my recruiter was talking that mess and making it sound all good and love and like, oh, if you do six, you get more money and so on and so forth. And I'll never forget once I got in, one, I wish I wasn't in, of course, but I definitely regretted having to do six instead of four. So we have to educate our community on the purpose of the military, further educate them, you know, play our part in it and recognize that it's by design. You know, they don't want to invest in our communities because if they do invest in our communities, there's going to be a divestment in the military by the people because we're no longer going to join. Like, there's no reason to. You feel what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Like, sure, you're
exactly.
going to have some Rambo dudes out there that buy into this BS, but it ain't going to be us. You feel me?
Yeah. And this is why I talk about U.S. imperialism all the time on my show because it really does connect to the black community and many different people of color and disenfranchised community, whether they know it or not. Because you said because we fund the giant military industrial complex, that leads us to a position where we can't fund our communities, and that is very true. But people understand there is actually a detrimental effect to funding these. Not just that you don't get the funding for your communities, but one of the main stories that came out this year that was ignored by the media is how the U.S. military is actively poisoning the black community, where
Mm,
they dump in toxic chemicals, they burn in chemicals, and pour in disenfranchised community because they know they don't have a lot of legal recourses to fight back.
right,
That's the
right.
reality of funding the U.S. empire and the U.S. military, the largest polluter in human history.
No question.
So you can't pretend that you are on the side of climate change if you're supporting the giant military industrial complex there.
No question.
But
No question.
people, once again, I'm happy to have this conversation with Anthony because once again, I think I see a lot of lefties lash out at veterans because their hatred of U.S. empire. That's not the way to go. Because if you follow left flank veterans, they posted a really great video one time where it showed how you had college recruiters will go out and lie to people, straight up lie to them to get them in the military. So the video was a compilation asking people who are currently serving, how do you feel? If anyone watching, you got a link to that, share that. I don't have it on top of my head, but I think that'd be fun to watch. But they were
Mm-hmm.
asking people how you feel about your military recruiter, and about 80%, because it was an honest video. He didn't edit it, so there was like that 1 out of 5 or 1 out of 6 that was like, yeah, he was
Right,
okay. But so it
right,
was an honest video. He didn't edit it, but most of them was like, yo, fuck my military recruiter. Like they
right.
did not say it was gonna be like this. It was
Bro,
bullshit.
bro, that's so important when we talk about this leftist movement in a sense because if we truly tapping into intersectionality, right, when we talk about Chairman Fred Hampton and the Rainbow Coalition that he formed between poor Puerto Ricans, poor whites, poor blacks, so on and so forth, because class warfare is the ultimate warfare. You have to recognize what struggle means, you know. And I'm not here to judge anybody, but I didn't grow up reading Marx, like you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying. Like I had
exactly.
no idea who Marx was. Like I was radicalized by my life. Like I was
Mm-hmm.
radicalized by my actual struggle. It didn't take a book, it didn't take a chapter, it didn't take an individual to radicalize me. It took my reality. So individuals oftentimes you have to step back, you know what I'm saying? And if you see somebody that joined the military or, you know, had to make decisions in their life, understand where that came from because they're trying to survive. And oftentimes they get played and lied to, and that's by design. So no question, we have to educate ourselves to those reasons.
Yeah, that's what's I love that. I love that quote they say. You know, I didn't have to read theory. I've been doing a lot of caught up. Like I was with Isha. She has a great show where she discusses a lot of Lenin, a lot of theory, and I'm very open because there's like this section of the left where they view it as a competition. You know what I mean?
Right,
Where it was
right.
like, yeah, I'll read the most theory. I'm the most like Marx. I'm the most like Lenin. That is dumb to me. Like I'm very open that I didn't read all that stuff. I didn't read everything,
Nah,
but
bro,
I'm
I still don't read Marx. Like I'll be real with you. Like
yeah, I feel you.
I mean
And
it's
I
cool, but
like what you said resonated because you said we don't need to read this theory because we live this. And that was the point I would make on another Black leftist panel. Like, we didn't need these theories to come to the conclusion of being anti-capitalist. I became an anti-capitalist through the reality of my life and seeing people struggle. Like,
no question.
like there are a lot of people that claim they read theory and they're very supportive of theory, but then they are supportive of giant police budgets. So it's like, where do your theory lead you?
Bro.
So it's like there's another thing that a lot of people don't understand is like whenever they talk about leftist theory, they're like, oh, have you read theory? And then who do they bring up? They bring up a lot of these people I respect too. I mean, old
Mm-hmm.
school white philosophers. You know
Mm-hmm.
what?
Mm-hmm.
Who's my theory? Who I got theory from? W.B. Du Bois, Fred Hampton himself, Malcolm X,
Mm-hmm.
MLK.
Mm-hmm.
There is
Mm-hmm.
black leftist theory that
Mm-hmm.
shaped who I am
Right.
and my politics. And I think that's kind of similar to yourself. Is that accurate to say, Anthony?
No question. You know, growing up, you know, again, I can't thank my parents enough. You know, they're still alive. Ron and Blanche. You know, salute to them. My father's an avid reader. You know, even though he wasn't college educated, and what's sick about it, making a connection to earlier, he actually served in the military, so we knew firsthand how devious the military was. But again, oftentimes you don't have a choice, so I ended up joining as well. And I'll never forget. I'm gonna share this real quick story and get into
Mm-hmm.
this. I'll never forget my father shared with me he you know went to the military. He served in Vietnam. Well, he got drafted. He didn't choose to go, and he'll never forget. You know, they got leave, like they got shore leave, and he was in his service uniform, walking in New York, feeling proud in a sense at the time. He was but kind of buying into it, and he was on a street corner. And he'll never forget. He told me this: a pickup truck drove by with two white men. They stopped, rolled down the window, and said to him, "You're still a nigger." and then drove off. And that will always stay with me because that's America for you. You got a
Yeah,
man in his uniform fighting for your freedoms, and that's how you respond. But that's America in a nutshell, right? But no question though, my schooling, they never exposed me to Marcus Garvey, to Chairman Fred Hampton, to MLK. They tried to you know, put rose-colored glasses over the enslavement of Africans and African descendants and chattel slavery and so on and so forth. So I didn't get that education in school. But when I went home, my father had all these books. My father had all these things that he wanted to share with me
that's
about the
great.
Black Panther Party, about Angela Davis, about so many different individuals, Medgar Evers, and I could continue on. So those are you're right, those are my philosophers. Those are the
Yes,
individuals I learned from. Those are the individuals I listened to, and as well, those are the individuals that lived it. And I will say this, and it's somewhat controversial, but that's what led me to understand, like, if you look throughout history, the individuals that were really about that life and advanced and took it to the next level of attacking class, like class issues, they're no longer here, or they were incarcerated for a long period of time, or they had to be exiled, or something happened to them. So that's why a Chairman Fred Hampton is no longer here, but we still have a Jesse Jackson. And I'm just keeping it 100 with you. That's why Martin Luther King is no longer
100%
here,
facts.
but we still have a Reverend Al Sharpton.
Yep.
Because some of these individuals out here purposefully are gatekeepers, purposefully by design, they enrich themselves and individually excel based upon this system that exists, that individualism, that thought of individualism, while again keeping us suppressed, similar to religion throughout history and similar to other things. So, that's what I learned. Like, if you were really about that life and you were really attacking class issues and really trying to unite individuals, because think about it, Martin Luther King Jr., he was assassinated what? He was about to lead a workers' strike. You feel what I'm saying? Like, that's deep. He was attacking class
They shouldn't
ultimately.
have that.
Can't have that. They can't have that. And when they look out and if they see individuals attacking class and they're diverse, so they can't silence it or marginalize it and say that's just black people or that's just brown people, it's everybody. They can't have that, bro. They're gonna take you out. They're gonna take you out. No question.
And what you said is such an important point that highlights how horrible our public education system. Because you mentioned how like they didn't teach you about Fred Hampton, and Jackie was laughing at me like I'm honest. I told her about like I didn't know the merits of Fred Hampton and who he was till literally a few years ago. And I read it to him, and I didn't know that much about Malcolm X until I became radicalized a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I say that because the version of Malcolm X they sold us in school and the version of MLK was BS. What they did, and this is, I still have very clear memories of this. I talked to a lot of black leftists who shared the very same experience. When we was in school, it was heavily implied that MLK was the good one and Malcolm X was the bad one. And they said MLK is that what you want to follow. Malcolm X he was too radical. He didn't get anything done, and he was inefficient. That was the message that they taught us in school. And in order to accomplish this, they had to whitewash MLK too. You guys
No
understand that,
question.
right?
No question.
There's
No question.
still
100%.
there's still people that operate under the guise that MLK was like this not this like nice, easy, going with the establishment guy.
He was one of the most hated people on the planet
Yes.
right before he was assassinated. And that's liberals. That's everyone. There was a vote. The polling showed he was one of the most hated people in
Yep.
America before he was assassinated. But again, it's by design. They want to indoctrinate us with being peaceful. You're oppressed, but respond with peace. We're taking advantage of you. You are commodified, but respond peacefully, because they do not
Great
want
point.
us to empower ourselves. They do not want us to take up arms. They do not want us to unify intersectionally and fight back. So the school plays a role, our criminal justice system plays a role, our media damn sure plays a role. It's all connected, and we're the ones being played.
Yeah, man, that's perfectly said because they pretend that the best way for disenfranchised people and oppressed people to fight back is, oh, you gotta turn the other cheek, you gotta love your oppressors. And now I sent out the message. I sent out the message. I'm glad the tweet I made saying this went viral. I think it's very, very, very healthy to hate your oppressors because
You
hating
should.
hating your oppressors is self love. So if you are convinced that crimes done against your community and your neighborhood And this is the message they sent us regarding Joe Biden. Like, crime bill, him pushing segregation, him pushing economic racism with his bankruptcy bill. Even though that destroyed the black community, not a big deal because on this grand scheme of things, it's the lesser evil.
Right.
That's the flaw of the lesser two evils because the black community is only 13% of the population. Only
Bro,
13% of the population. So if you go on the framework of the lesser two evils, you can
right.
have a tyrant against the black community, but as long as he take care of the white community, that's technically the lesser two evils. Why does it describe
Well,
it as the Democratic Party? Go ahead, Anthony.
now I'm just man, you talking, you preaching to me, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, like, because I mean, let's dig a little bit, right? Like, if you go into a hood, what are three things that you always see? You see liquor stores, you see, loan stores, loan companies, and you see churches. So they want to keep us drunk, broke, and prayed up. And we have to play. I mean, I know it's controversial, but I don't mind talking about this. And I think we have to have that conversation of the role religion and the black church
Don't get me
continues to
started.
play
Don't
in
get me
black
started.
oppression. There's
Oh my
literally a
God.
black church damn near on every corner in black communities. And what does religion teach us? Turn the other cheek, be forgiving, love thy neighbor. We're indoctrinated with this to become passive. You know what I'm saying? And it's by design. And meanwhile, your pastor probably driving around in a Mercedes. He got the
Mm-hmm.
Rolex on. He got 3 or 4 women in the background. So I mean, it's a sick game that's played. And this is not all pastors. So I don't want anybody to hear this and say, oh, Anthony going in on every church. There are definitely indeed some good churches out there, but it's systemic. So I'm not just talking about one individual. We're talking about the system as a whole. And we have to recognize why there is 1 or 2 churches on every corner in the black community, because instead of us fighting for our lives here, they put in our minds, oh, you're going to get heaven in the next life. You're going to be prosperous in the next life. So accept your oppression here, accept your mistreatment here, and when you die and get through those pearly gates, then you will get treated fairly. Well, I say, damn that. You know what I'm saying? Get treated fairly now. Demand it and fight for it. So
Yes.
we have to unravel these type of things and recognize how the game is being played and how, again, it plays us. Like, it's deep, bro. It's deep, man. You preaching.
That is you preach it too. That's such a great point, man. That is such a good point. Like, don't even get me started. I don't talk. I don't discuss religion that much. I remember I had my edgy teenage atheist years. Now, as I got older, and once I realized like how hard life is, I'm like, okay, I get why people believe in stuff like that to make it easier for them. I honestly don't attack it, but the point you made up is such a brilliant point because we have these black church leaders who they pretty much funnel people back into supporting our oppression using the mechanism that you outlined. And that same mechanism you outlined is not a new tactic. People who realize they use religion to pacify slaves, right? They use religion because they told slaves back in the day, like, all right, the situation you have right now sucks, but Christ and our religion says you must serve your white master because if you serve your white master in a faithful way, you will go into heaven as a free man. So it's worth your slavery right now, so you can have peace in the afterlife. And now
Exactly.
this sums up in a nutshell why I rejected religion. And I'm like, you can't convince me to join any organized religion because even the black community is just one example, but religion as a whole was designed to control people. Like back in the day, back when the
Yeah.
churches had much more political power, they used to run government. People was wild. People was having like wild sex like crazy. People was fighting for resources because things were much difficult back then in order to survive. So people was willing to do much more in order to survive. So they used religion as a way to control the masses and to pump their own propaganda out, and which they did. That's why a lot of people wasn't allowed to read the Bible because they like, all right, only the priests are allowed to share this information. I only bring this up because that's such a great point because they're the same problem that we have, and I wrote in great detail about my frustrations as a young black man. Because once again, I say it's healthy to hate your oppressors. I wouldn't call them my oppressors. I'll say like these black boomers let us off a cliff multiple times, and throughout the course, post civil rights liberation. Right. So we were sold out to the police state by the black boomers in the '90s. They fell behind in Joe Biden, and now there's this new era of rejecting the black revolutionary roots that we grew up in. Like, for example,
Mm-hmm.
if you look at MLK, you look at Malcolm X, you look at Fred Hampton, you look at Angela Davis, like all these people are staunch anti-capitalists. So why is black capitalism so prevalent? What happened?
Hey, hey, I mean, we were sold the goods. I think as a whole, what again, it's indoctrination. We've assigned ourselves to that white aspiring of individualism. Though nothing is individual in this world because there's a legacy of enslavement, there's a legacy of so much manifest destiny. We could go on and on. America pushes individualism. So we buy into that. You know what I'm saying? And black capitalism is part of that because one black millionaire does nothing for the entire black community and black oppression. Sure, Kanye is a billionaire now. Salute to Kanye. Yeezys look dope. That's cool. But what is that doing for our oppression? And how is that addressing our oppression? Systemically, it's not, but we buy into that and we just say to ourselves, it's a crabs in the barrel mentality that's been nurtured throughout history that we're going to get ours and we're going to take care of ourselves. And even getting back to what you were just sharing about, again, about the black church, not going too far in, but who are the most powerful lobbyists damn near? Where does the Democratic Party and Republican Party go when they want the black vote? They go to the church. And you're going to have your pastor, you're going to have your first lady. They're telling people who to vote for. Meanwhile, politicians are cutting them checks. I know how it works because I
Yep,
run for
yep.
office. They're cutting them checks in the background, and you don't even see these politicians in the community, but you'll see their yard signs, and you'll hear your pastor telling you, I'm voting for Joe Biden. This is who you're going to vote for. You know what I'm saying? So it's deep, but we buy into this. And again, we have to break from it. I mean, even hip hop, like I'm a huge rap fan. I used to be in a rap group back in the day. I run a hip hop club at my school, started a hip hop curriculum course. So I'm into the culture. It's a culture. But even look what we sell, what we push. It's that individualistic mindset. I got my chains, I got my earrings, I got my whip, I got my
Yep.
man, I got my women, I got my they, whatever you want. I got my yacht. But what is that doing? You know what I'm saying? Like, how is that helping us as a collective? Meanwhile, systemically, the poorest white man has more rights than your rich black ass. So, I mean, what are we doing?
Yeah, man, that's such a brilliant point, man. That's why I'm glad I brought you on. Because me and Jackie, we went on many different tandem about black celebrities and how they trick people into thinking this system work for us. Because you guys know that there's been an explosion of black millionaires in terms of the last few years. Despite that, despite that, income, racial wealth inequality right now is worse right now than it was
Mm-hmm.
at the height of the civil rights era.
Yep, no
So
question.
what happened? So what happened? So a few people made it. The people who are really good at singing and dancing for Whitey, the people the people who can dribble a ball, entertain the white man, the
Right,
person who can make a song and dance for the white man, they
right.
get riches. Meanwhile, the rest of us are doomed to fail.
And it's all political. Like I truly believe everything is political. Sports. I'm a sports fan. I play sports. I love MMA. I love boxing. I watch it. But we have to understand the role that it serves. Like if you, I'm not an expert, but if you look at ancient Rome, what did the Colosseum serve to do? It was a distraction. It provided the people with entertainment. Meanwhile, they were experiencing advanced poverty. They were impoverished, but they had entertainment. So we have to look at everything, music, art, so on and so forth. It's a distraction for us, so we're not necessarily always thinking about reality and what our lives and how we're living. So it's deep. It's really deep. And uh,
Yeah,
bro,
and
like
and, and I always stress having a lot of fun in terms as a leftist because there's some like I call them no fun leftists. I don't like them. I think life is
right.
so stressful and
Oh, you
especially
gotta enjoy.
yeah you gotta enjoy. But what I'm saying is if you're one of those entertainers, you gotta understand the weight of the platform that you have. And my criticism of black celebrities and this is I think this is a pretty recent phenomenon where you got them just propping up the oppressors of our community, and they pretend that's we're being political, we giving back to our community, so you got to vote for Joe Biden. This is us getting politically engaged. Meanwhile, compare that to revolutionary black leaders of the past. Once again, I'm a big combat sports fan, so my favorite athlete of all time is Muhammad Ali. And Muhammad Ali not only is an amazing boxer, he stood up to U.S. imperialism. He stood for his community, and he took very, very hard stances that hurt his career. That's why
Mm-hmm.
I have much love and admiration of Kaepernick because Kaepernick is one of the few in the modern age that did that. His career was hurt because he stood against the U.S. police system and white supremacy. How many people are doing that? Because they see what happened. They made an example of Kaepernick, And I don't have to go back as far as Ali. You had Tupac that was making very class conscious lyrics. Got money for war, can't feed the
Yep.
poor.
Can't compete the poor.
You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
These are the kind of messages that uh like the people that are getting propped up by Black Hollywood, by who are getting all the shine, they're not willing to take that because if you're on top, and if you're representative of the black community, you're expected to carry water for the oligarchy as well. The best example I can think about that in recent time was when the NBA strike was happening, where there was police brutality was getting so bad. Well, we was like, no, all right, we shutting this shit down. We're not dancing for white people no more. What happened? Barack Obama was like, nah. Hey,
Yep.
LeBron, what you doing, bro? Get your ass back there and dribble. And he
Yep.
did. He
Yep.
did. So take that as you will. Let me shift topics here. I want to ask you about this. What is
Okay.
the Suburban Unity Organization? Give us some more information about that.
Yeah. So, I mean, my story's kind of interesting. So, back in 2016, I started a nonprofit, because I was out in the streets, supporting various protests and so on and so forth. And I felt like, because I ended up teaching back in the suburb, it's right next to the Chicagoland area, it's Oak Park. So, Oak Park is right next to the Austin community. And Austin is basically one of the most impoverished communities in Chicagoland area, and Oak Park is right next to it. So, you go from like a median household income of like $30,000 to crossing one street, and then you had a median household income of like $80,000 to $85,000. So teaching in Oak Park, like I've been teaching for 13 years now. I've lost 12 students to gun violence. I used to teach in the city. I've taught alternative. I've taught charter. I'm 100% against charter schools, by the way. So I was just thinking of just all these different things. And I was like, Oak Park is a community that has so many resources, and it's predominantly white community. Oftentimes they're donating to these large organizations, don't have no idea where the money is going, because I think if someone understands a nonprofit, you could donate $20, but by the time it gets to the actual individual or cause that you're trying to support, it's maybe $1 left.
Yeah.
So I was like, let me start something that where I don't get paid, nobody gets paid, and all the money goes directly to the cause that we're trying to address. We're not changing anything. We're not treating necessarily the root cause, but at least we're doing something. So I started it back in 2016. To date, we've been able to raise over $200,000, pushing into the Austin community, the Maywood community, which are food deserts, which experience high levels of gun violence, so on and so forth. We've changed policy, racial equity policy, sexual assault policy. So we've been doing a lot of work, help with the Welcoming Village ordinance in the community. So it's been a lot going on. We've connected with, the Black Panther Party Cubs. That's a Proviso Township in the Maywood community. We're bringing a community fridge to Maywood, which again is a food desert. And if you don't know who the Black Panther Party Cubs is, or are, Chairman Fred Hampton's son, Chairman Fred Hampton Jr., is the chairman of the Black Panther Party Cubs. So he's continuing the legacy. Chairman Fred Hampton's childhood home is in Maywood. So, there's a lot of mobilization around saving that home, turning it into a museum. So, we're setting up a community fridge there. We have a community fridge in Oak Park that we're doing. So, it's a lot. We're fundraising for somebody every week, helping them with bills, helping them with groceries,
That's
just trying to
amazing,
help people
man.
survive, bro. And again, I feel like we shouldn't have to exist, because honestly, and this is kind of, I guess, weird to say because I'm a director of a nonprofit. Nonprofits are honestly part of the problem in a sense because we don't allow things to get as worse as they should be, right? Because we're picking up the slack for the government. The government's not addressing housing, so often nonprofits do. The government's not addressing food insecurity, often nonprofits do. So it's a battle for me sometimes with the work that I do. I love doing it, and we're able to help people, but we're not necessarily changing anything at the root cause level. And but I can't sit back and not help people, or collaborate to help people. So that's what we do
Yeah,
in
man.
Suburban Unity Alliance.
Yeah, that's great. That's great stuff we do, and I love to amplify all that. And while you talking, you didn't see it, but I had the website playing for our viewers, so you guys saw that.
Yeah.
It's I was showing where you can help, you can donate. You didn't see it,
Yep.
but I had it on my screen. So if you guys have anything that you can share to Anthony Clark's foundation, help us out. And I'm actually gonna disagree with you. I'm actually gonna push back on you slightly.
Okay, for sure.
I think what you're doing is important because I am not one of those people that want to bullshit people.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy. People get mad when people sell hate or sell anger for. I would say anger for clicks. I
Mm-hmm.
actually think it's worse when people sell hope, meaning
Mm-hmm.
that if you keep watching our channel, we can give you updates on how things are getting better. All you gotta
Right,
do is
right,
donate to Rebel headquarters. We stay in the fight and things get better.
right.
If you ask me, am I honest? take on the situation in the black community politically right now, I believe we're fucked. And I take no pleasure in
Mm-hmm.
saying that. The reason why I say that is because we are forced to give up our political capital uh, in order to protect the Democratic Party, in order to support the white community. We gotta look after every single community where our votes. What's the thing the liberals always say? Oh, black women save us. Black women save democracy. And our response to that: when the fuck you guys gonna save black women?
Mm-hmm.
When? Because we always got to sacrifice our political capital to defeat the Republicans. Meanwhile, every single group under the sun gets concessions. What concessions is the black community giving? We are getting
None.
nothing. And that's going to
None.
continue to happen
Yep.
because we elected Jim Crow Joe. We elected
Mm-hmm.
Kamala Harris. These are two of the worst public officials in modern era when it comes to black community. Kamala Harris haven't served for a long time, but considering that she's just still relatively young, she's done a ton of damage to the black community with her criminal justice policies. And have they learned anything from that? No. No, they still pushing the new Jim Crow. They're still funding the police more. There's no reparations that even being discussed. No healthcare plan that will help black Americans even being discussed. I wrote about how Medicare for All is the most pro-black policy platform you can advocate for right now in political discourse. Is that even being discussed? No. There's nothing that the black
Right.
community are getting that will help us. We are
Mm-hmm.
expected to sacrifice. So why am I saying all this? So what can we do politically? I'm not one of the people that woe is me. There's nothing we can do. Unfortunately, we straight up had to live anti-capitalist. Since we are screwed, we live in a post. Um, we live in late stage capitalism. Black wealth continue to tank. Racial income inequality, as the system is right now, is going to get worse because I reported on racial income inequality, and you guys understand when I say that racial income inequality is worse right now than was in high civil rights era. You know what year I'm using? I'm using 2016 because that last time I was tracked. You guys know that black wealth was tanked even further under COVID. Black businesses tanking and record numbers. You know why? Because the Paycheck Protection Program, all those corporate bailouts, they wasn't designed to go to black businesses,
Right.
and these black businesses were denied the corporate handouts that was given to the white. Like Nancy Pelosi's husband got a bailout, but not the
Yep.
black community. So that number is worse, guys, than what we talk. We don't know it because it's gonna take some time to study that issue. Because we didn't know about Obama taking black wealth until they did studies years after. So we don't really know how bad racial income inequality is right now. So my long spiel is just to let people know that if you're looking for a savior to save the black community, whether it be Joe Biden or the squad, Bernie Sanders, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen, guys. I'm sorry to say it. So what can
Right.
we do? We got to take care of each other. So that's where my pushback comes from. Because you're like, I don't think you know you're doing good work, but I think this is the only path for the black left as it is right now, and
Right.
that's what I'm doing here at Fred Hampton Leftists because we gotta wake up our brothers and sisters. And there's
Right.
gonna be a point where enough of our brothers and sisters are woken up where we're not just giving away our vote to the corporate warmongering Democratic Party, where we be like, okay, we gotta get something out of this. Then maybe things will start changing on the black political stage. Maybe we get some leaders who actually give a fuck about us, and like
Right.
but until then, and only until then, I think mutual aid and stuff that you're doing is super important, and I think that's the
I
only way
appreciate
we can
that.
survive. So that's
No,
the
I
only thing I
appreciate that.
disagree because so I
No, and
think
I feel that.
yeah
I feel that, and I appreciate that. And I think what's deep about it is like I felt what you were saying to my core because I mean, for those, I'm nothing special, but if you're not familiar with my history, I was an original Justice Democrat. When Justice Democrat and Brand New Congress, AOC, Corey Bush, and myself, we were like that first recruited group. I bought into the BS. You know what I'm saying? Like
I did too.
the electoral system is a rigged system. But how JD and all those organizations approach us. Oh, we're going to change the game, right? We're going to primary every but you see how it's shifted. You know what I'm saying? Like you see how it's shifted, and once the majority of individuals get into office, it's no longer that revolutionary mindset. It's no longer about changing and further exposing the system. It's essentially about playing the game. It's essentially about surviving, and it's essentially about your career. So I was extremely frustrated with that because I don't want to say I wasted because that experience and those experiences have
Well
made me
said.
a better individual. But I bought in, and that was like 4 years of my life because I ran twice for Congress under those banners, and really bought into, oh, we're going to change things. And I mean, it's not the case. You know what I'm saying? Because what's the point of winning? Like in my mind, I was going to win, and I was going to get into office, and I was just going to tear shit up. Like I was just going to further expose everything. I was going to expose congressional leaders. I was going to further expose the system. And if that only had meant that I had one term, 1 2 year term, 1 2 year term of further exposing the system and the rigged game that's played is more powerful to me than a 10 or 12 year career as a representative, just basically perpetuating and maintaining status quo. So no, I definitely felt what you're saying. Like we cannot wait for. There's no Superman out there. There's no Superwoman. There's no Clark Kent. You know what I'm saying? Like nobody, even though they're about to have a black Superman, like while black people continue to die in these streets, like there's no. We have to save ourselves. We have to fight for ourselves, and so I feel that, and I appreciate you sharing that with me because it is an internal struggle for me. Often, it's like I'm almost helping the government in a sense, and that's often what I think by
Yeah,
helping individuals.
I know why you reached that conclusion because that's as a socialist, like I don't like charities because that's kind of been the socialist point of view for a very long time. I'm not saying that we shouldn't do them, but charities are just a result of a failed system.
Right,
And
exactly.
regarding the strategy of taking on the Democratic Party, I was all for it. It was a very cute experiment, and we tried it, and we need to adjust. And people who are not adjusting, they are willing to leave communities behind because the strategy of supporting Justice Democrats is 100% leaving communities behind. Why did I say that? Because you asked Justice Democrats, you asked for Pramila Jayapal, and this kind of they help us segue into our next segment here. You asked her how the Biden administration is doing. She gave him an A. She gave him an A. So what does that tell you? What message is she sending? She's sending the message that all the communities that were left behind by Joe Biden's policy, not a big deal. He still has an A. By the way, you guys realize while Joe Biden has an A, according to Pramila Jayapal, and he performing better than expectations. And once again, I got an advocate, and Clark shared how he put a lot of work into electoral politics. I did the best I could in my position as well. You guys realize I quit my job. A lot of people know my background. I quit my job to canvass and Bernie in multiple states. And my position at the time was this is our only chance. And I shared the message like even if Bernie Sanders won, we would still had a very very hard uphill battle because that's how the battle starts with Bernie winning, and then we got to fight like hell, like shut shit down in order to pass his agenda. I used to tell people like at least he has a plan because back then when he used to run, he like we will shut shit down to get our agenda done. We'll go to Joe Manchin State, we'll rally an audience against him. And when I was canvassing for Bernie, I was telling people like, yo, it's not just that we have a platform, we have a plan. We gonna put pressure on the establishment. This is what I really believed, but that I feel like I was hustled. Like I feel like
Right.
I was hustled because now they're not even speaking on the same issues that they were speaking on under Trump. So when Donald Trump bombed Syria, AOC was really loud about that. Made a tweet
Hmm.
about everything. When Joe Biden bombed Syria, nothing.
Hmm.
Joe
Yeah, I mean,
Biden, go ahead, brother.
no, I mean, I'm agreeing, and all I want just an analogy that I believe in. Like, if we recognize the game is rigged, putting in a new team is not going to change anything. And we have to get that into our mind. Like having a new team, having a new quarterback or a coach, we're still playing the same game. And that's what you're speaking to. Like we're still playing the same rigged game and we're going to lose in the end, no matter who's in charge. That's what we have to understand. Either we completely end and destroy the game or we're going to continue to get played by the game. Like, so, I'm agreeing.
And it's like when they're weak, when Bernie Sanders is weak on the issue of defunding police, and once again, I'm not making any of Bernie because his criminal justice program is still really good, and a lot of things that he advocated for was part of things that we were asking on 10 demands. But when you're advocating for funding police more, you're guarding the Overton window. And that's what they're doing when AOC don't speak about the Syria bombings, when they don't speak on the issue of Julian Assange, when they're not strong enough on the issue of Israel Palestine. Cause even when they speak on that, like AOC recently had a tweet where she was like, "Yeah, we got to stand for Palestinians," but she's still using the language of the Democrat Party because she used the term each Jerusalem. You don't
Right.
use that term. There is
Right.
Jerusalem, and it belongs
Right.
to Palestinians too. So it's like the
Right.
small things, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like once again, I don't hate her for that, but it's just something that has to be acknowledged.
No, it's a
So
great point. And justice to Palestine, by the way. You know,
yeah,
justice for
and
Palestine. We gotta shut that up.
yeah, absolutely. And I wanted to discuss that. I'm gonna bring that up here very soon because the reason I talk about U.S. imperialism because people don't realize like solidarity between Afro Americans and Palestinians it runs deep. Like Malcolm X was a longtime supporter of Palestine,
Hmm.
and the people who are elected and who are apologizing for Joe Biden and saying he buried their expectations. The reason why that's bad because I acknowledge and Anthony acknowledges here that the problem is the state itself. The state itself is inhumane. So when you pretend that the Democrat Party and Joe Biden is better than he is, you whether you know it or not, you are apologizing for the state. That's why I didn't get caught up in the lesser two evils, even though it was very appealing to fall for Trump derangement syndrome. People wonder, like everything that Biden did that continued Trump policy, I called it. Why did I call it? Because it's a state problem. Like people really
Right.
think that Donald Trump, he's a fucking moron. People really think that this moron came in and just changed the system. Like
Right.
everything that Trump got done, they allowed him to get done because there was a U.S. empire interest in continuing that. One example I move I get on a little bit tangent, so I won't go too far. But
No.
one example I want to give is remember when Khashoggi was killed, and then people
Hmm.
lost their shit because Donald Trump didn't do anything about it.
Right.
That and I'm like I was at the time like bro that's horrible that Trump's doing that, but that had nothing to do with Trump. That this is a U.S. state decision that they are pinning on Trump. This is why they love Trump because it gave them the clown to point the finger at.
Exactly.
Oh, oh my God, President Trump is weak on Saudi Arabia. It's only Trump that's weak on Saudi Arabia.
Right.
Then Biden gets in and does the same thing. They actually
Exactly.
did it's actually worse because they did a probe. Donald Trump and his administration, like, all right, we're not gonna probe it. He didn't. They was like, they didn't do it. They didn't do it. They didn't do it. No evidence that they did it. Biden is worse because they actually did a probe. The probe found that they killed him, and then they were like, nah, we can't do anything about it.
Right.
at least bullshit about it. Like, nah, we're not gonna do anything about it. So the reason I'm bringing this up because if you're actually a leftist, you understand that the issue is the state, and we discussed this as well. I want to share this clip. I want to share this before, but we have some tech issues. But I think this is a good time to get into. Give me a second so I can
For
share
sure.
screen it so you can see it because I
Okay.
think this sums up our mindset and how I make my predictions. Right? Give me 1 second here. Can you see that?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, cool. Trying to make sure my audience can see it. All right, cool. They can see it. So remember when we said we get our theory from Black revolutionary leaders? Once
Hmm.
again, we're not mad at you if you get your theory from a lot of different sources. But people like Nelson Mandela, people pretend that they are on the side of Nelson Mandela. People love to quote Nelson Mandela because it's cute
Hmm.
without understanding what he was about. Listen to Nelson Mandela here, and I want your comments because I think this kind of plays exactly what we talked about. I want to make sure everyone can hear it. Though. Can you hear that?
I can't hear it.
Committed unspeakable.
You may have to share because I do this all the time teaching my classes. Did you click sound when you shared it? Because I do that all the time in my class. I'll play a video and they're like, Mr. Clark, we can't hear it. I got to click that
Let's go. We
share video for sound.
We get this file. Share video. Oh yeah, I see it. Share sound.
Yeah,
I see it.
Yep, share sound. You got to click that little box.
All right, cool.
That
Good
teacher
looking.
life.
Good looking.
Teacher life.
I got you. Yeah, you can hear it now, right?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
And if
So I think they can hear it. I don't want to get started on this before. Okay, I think everyone can hear it. So everyone, let's watch this clip, and then I'm gonna get your thoughts on it as well, Anthony.
there is a country that has committed unspeakable atrocities in the world, it is the United States of America. They don't care. They don't care for human beings. 57 years ago, when Japan was retreating on all fronts, they decided to drop the atom bomb in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Killed a lot of innocent people who are still suffering from the effects of those bombs. Those bombs were not aimed against the Japanese. They were aimed against the Soviet Union to say, look, this is the power that we have. If you dare oppose what we do, this is what is going to happen to you. Because they are so arrogant, they decided to kill innocent people in Japan who are still suffering from that. Who are they now to pretend that they are the policemen of the world?
Right? So we talk
Hey,
about who teaches us. These are the people who teach me. So if you are one of the people who are apologizing for this empire after hearing what Nelson Mandela had to say there, and and once again, we are surrounded by these people, Anthony, black imperialists, the people who are still propping up the U.S. empire despite what Nelson Mandela is saying there. So I just want to get your thoughts on that clip. Anything you want to add to that?
I mean, first, I'm kind of laughing in a sense because when we think about current President Biden, how he continued to lie and say he was arrested trying to see Nelson Mandela, how he tried to position himself and hero worshiping Nelson Mandela, and Nelson Mandela thanked him. So that's funny to me. But I mean, I saw no lies detected. When we're thinking about World War II, when we're thinking about all these different wars, Vietnam War, so on and so forth. When we think about these various coups that the U.S. have been behind, when we think about the war on drugs and the crack epidemic, where that came from, and so on and so forth, and it's all connected to power, and it's not humanity. It's not about human rights. It's not about truly what's best for the American people or people across this globe. It's about power, and that's what the United States is about. They want to maintain capitalism. If you're a communist, if they think you're anti-capitalist, they're going to do anything in that. And mind you, I want to say this: you can be extremely problematic as long as you're not trying to as long as you're not trying to attack American capitalism. Like, they don't care. You can commit atrocities. You can be a human rights violator. You can be a dictator. As long as you're not threatening America and what they're trying to do, you're cool. So, I mean, there's so much that can be said. Nelson Mandela was huge. Winnie Mandela was huge, and he said the truth. I what's funny about this. I was actually talking to my class about this 2 weeks ago when we're talking about the bombs that were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, in the sense of they didn't have to happen. When we were looking and doing some reading, in a sense, we found some text in the sense where the Japanese were retreating, and one of their biggest concerns was essentially just making sure that their emperor was kept in place. They wanted to make sure that their emperor was kept in place based upon their ideologies and their cultural beliefs. We didn't have to drop those bombs. We had victory in sight, and we could have picked a more humane route. But again, like he stated, sending messages to the Soviet Union, sending messages to other world powers. I mean, it's sick. It's sick. And I served in that system. I served in that military industrial complex where we just, again, are fighting rich individual wars. We fight for oil. We fight for capitalism. We're never fighting for humanity. And that's my opinion.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the. Unfortunately, I didn't have it saved. I'm trying to see if I can find it. But Malcolm X also spoke about the issue, the Palestine issue. I'm trying to find the quote. My friend Sarah posted it, but my point is, like, if you're gonna be there you go, I found it. Check this out. 'Cause since we're on the topic of like our leaders, this is from
Mm-hmm.
Malcolm X. Share it for the screen. I'm gonna share screen so you can see it. 1 second.
And it's crazy to me. I know you're about to share, but it's just like, I remember Manifest Destiny. I remember learning about Manifest Destiny and how America was formed. So we've engaged in the same practices that oftentimes we pretend uh to call
Absolutely.
out.
This is from Malcolm X. The Zionist argument to justify Israel's present occupation of Arab Palestine has no intelligent or legal basis in history. And I'll bring this up because there's been a long standing solidarity between the African American community and Palestine. And I think this is something that must continue because if you look at, there are a lot of people on the left who's like very weak on foreign policy, and there's like these white progressives who like only want to save money on healthcare. That's like the only thing they really care
Mm-hmm.
about. These
Right.
same people, I promise you, these same people would have smeared Malcolm X, and they will smear Fred Hampton as just some tanky. Like
Oh,
if there was a lie today,
no
guaranteed you.
question. They would be extremely problematic on the left, because they spoke the truth. And again, they were at a higher level in the sense of their intersectional movements and their ideas of what human rights and intersectional and these fights are about. Nobody is free until we all are free. Like, I truly believe that, and they espouse that in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
So it's deep. And I brought up Manifest Destiny. Like, I remember learning about it in school. Like, we played that game. I don't know. I'm a little older than you, I think, but the Oregon Trail. Like, I mean, that's extremely problematic what we're indoctrinated with. in the sense of the manifest destiny was colonists and white settlers believing God gave them this land. So indigenous people be damned. We're going to kill you. We're going to take your land. You are savages. This is our land now. How is that any different? What's going on right now in
Right.
Israel? How is that any different? Zionism and so on and so forth. These beliefs that this is our land. God has given it to us. We're taking it. Like, it's not any different, in my opinion. And I'm no
It's
expert
not.
by
It's
any means,
not.
but I believe in humanity and I have common sense. So I'm gonna
Yes.
speak the truth and I'm gonna speak my truth. And so we have to speak out against it. Like, you can't ignore these human rights violations that are occurring. You can't ignore the apartheid that is occurring. You can't ignore the manifest destiny that's currently occurring in Israel and beyond. It's deep, bro. And the trillions of dollars we spend supporting this is extremely, extremely damning and problematic. But again, our politicians, they're not about that life. They're trying to survive themselves. They're trying to maintain the system. So they're not going to call this out. I mean, look at the issue with BDS. How many politicians had to denounce it or try to shy away from it or don't want to talk about
There it is.
sanctions because, again, they're going to be viewed and labeled as anti-Semitic or so on and so forth. It's deep. It's deep. It's deep.
Yeah, the issue of Palestine is how you can tell whether someone is full of shit or not. Like that's like the number one litmus test to me, and I think most black people, especially black lefty team, still kind of explain how they felt when they learned about Jim Crow and slavery. Because I still remember when I was a kid and I learned about slavery, Jim Crow. It really fucked with me. Like, it really was
Mm-hmm.
a powerful moment in my development. I don't know how anyone could react to anything differently than that. And my takeaway from that is, like, I can't let this happen to anyone else. So that would lead to, like, that learning about what black people and our people have been through throughout the course of history, that helped shape me to having the political beliefs I have now. So, like, one of the first, like, because I grew up in a socially conservative area, and that was a lot of white leftists didn't understand, like, because I remember they was going after my friend Rome for insensitive comments that he made like a few years ago. It's like, bro, a lot of us grew up with social conservatives. The fact that we fought that and then now
Right.
we are allies. Like, how you guys have how you guys not respect that? And meanwhile, they're quick to forgive a white guy who used to
Right.
say the N word, by the
Right.
way. But I grew up in a social conservative area, and one of the first radical positions, especially at the time that I reached, I was like, dude, gay people have to be able to marry, because I saw the parallels between people fighting against gay marriage and people subjugating the black community. I'm like, how
Mm-hmm.
can you be, especially with the black community? Yeah, we talked about black churches earlier. Black churches played a giant role in fighting against gay rights and gay marriages when California had their vote years ago. So I don't remember the exact year, but the black
Mm-hmm.
churches in California organized to stop legalizing gay marriage. This was quite a long time ago, and I
Right.
found that to be unbelievably unacceptable. And now it's not
Mm-hmm.
just gay marriage, because another thing that radicalized me politically was the Iraq War. Like,
Mm-hmm.
when I was looking at the George Bush administration and he was handling his foreign policy, this led me to be a staunch anti-imperialist, because I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
how the Palestine's being treated. When you look at the deaths in the Middle East because of the Iraq War, I saw all the parallels between those people being disenfranchised by our government and being subjugated, and what happened to our people, and what's continued to happen to our people. So that's why I would never in a million years, and this is why I actively see them as our enemies. I will never understand the black imperialists.
Mm-hmm.
This is why I ruthlessly go after Barack Obama to my community, in front of my community members, because I'd be damned if I preach the route of black liberation, but I am still supportive and not speaking out against a war criminal who are complicit with unbelievable crimes against humanity. When you look at his foreign policy, the country he
Mm-hmm.
supported being cool, it's a horrible track record for humanity. I don't understand how any Black American do not reach that conclusion. Like, the black
Yeah.
struggle itself is how I become anti-establishment.
It's deep, because the Democratic and Republican Party, they've mastered identity politics. Like, identity, of course, is extremely important, but they both weaponized identity. So we literally live in a country where you could be if you're a war criminal, that's a problem or somewhat of a problem. But if you're black and a war criminal, oh, you know what I'm saying?
That's
Like,
how
if
you
you're a
get
woman,
your mansion in Martha's
right.
Vineyard.
Right. If you're a woman and a war criminal, oh, you know what I'm saying? Because again, they weaponize identity. and it's so deep. I mean, look at
But
Tim
I was about
Scott,
to say because
the brother, Republican brother that came out and said, "Oh, America's not
I
racist."
had a
I'm
little bit
thinking
of
that's
hope.
crazy as hell. But then who followed up behind him and agreed with him?
Yep, and they was
So it's
quick.
just like quick,
They was quick too.
quick, bro. It ain't even take a day. So it's just like we've weaponized identity politics to help maintain this system, and ultimately, capitalism is the issue. To me, race is a social construct, gender is a social construct, but they're utilized to help maintain capitalism because they're utilized to justify the mistreatment of others. If you're black, you're mistreated. You're different, right? If you're a woman, you're mistreated. You're different. If you're LGBTQIA plus, you're different. If you're living with a disability, you're different. We've weaponized this, and it's so deep. So while systemically people living with disabilities are not necessarily empowered, they'll place somebody with a disability in office. They'll give them a position of power or a title, and this happens as high as federal office, and as low as somebody being a manager, in a store, or a principal or a superintendent. And it's deep, and we have to call that out and recognize it, that is not change. That is not progress. You know this. How many people said because Barack Obama became president, racism no longer existed? They still say this. Some people still say this shit. Racism doesn't exist in this country because we have a black president, or now we have a black woman, president, vice president. Like, what the hell are you talking about? But again, the weaponization of identity, along with the push of individualism, is sickening.
Yeah, you got 25 minutes. We usually near the end here. I like to it kind of like we jump to a few topics, read a
Okay,
few
I
questions.
could push the 420.
All right, go ahead. There we go. There we go. So I will keep you for the next about 20 minutes, and I'll let you
Okay,
go. But I think this
cool.
kind of back up exactly what we were talking about. Right? I love this. Oh, yeah, let me share it so you can see it. I'm working on multiple fronts here. I'm gonna share it so you can see it. But I love this because this is the mindset that everyone, especially a leftist, you understand. Because all the wars that we fight are class wars, and this is one great example of this. I found this, and I definitely gotta share this to my community here. This image says firing a $70,000 missile from a $28 million drone flying at a cost of $3,624 per hour to kill people in the Middle East living on less
Less
than
than one
one
dollar per
dollar
day.
per day.
Bro, that's deep. And immediately what I think about is, I've been a teacher for going on 13 years now. I've literally worked locally. We're talking, of course, Palestinian people, so on and so forth. But I've worked in schools where kids didn't have computers. Like, there was literally like no computers in the school. There was no books. Like, we didn't have a copy machine. But meanwhile, we're spending this amount of money on war, and I was a crew chief when I was in the Air Force. So those, I don't know if anybody has seen Transformers, those large cargo planes with the wings that point up. Like, those are the planes that I had to protect and take care of and fix. Literally, the price gouging and the markups that exist for somebody to enrich themselves based upon practicing for war and engaging in war. I literally had to change tires damn near every day. Do you know how much one
Wow.
tire on a C-17 cost? From my memory, it was like $375. And I'm changing these, like, there's no way it costs that, but it costs that, if you feel what I'm saying. And I'm changing these on a daily basis because we're engaging in war games and practicing for war, and then going off and engaging in war. I mean, and this is one aircraft on a military base that probably has 50 of these aircraft. And then if you multiply that by the military bases that exist across, the amount of money that continues to be spent on this military industrial complex. Meanwhile, we have kids that don't have books. We have individuals that are starving. We have crumbling infrastructures. We have school, mental health facility closures. It's huge. It's deep. It's deep.
Check this out. You had a great tweet that backs exactly what you said up here. You guys realize that just one military aircraft carrier, the cost of that is enough to end homelessness, right? So look at this. Meanwhile, we spend all the money. We spend billions and billions on the military. Joe Biden increased the military budget, by the way, guys. Increased it. This is what they are doing instead of providing money for the poor.
Right. And this is it.
Anti-homelessness
Yep.
architecture. And
Yep.
guess where this is located? These are in your blue states. The lesser of two evil crowd. They have a very hard time comprehending that it's Democrats who propose anti-homelessness infrastructure as well as Republicans. And another reason why this impacts Black Americans is because capitalism has failed our community. A lot of people don't know this. Despite us only being 13% of the population, Black people are 40% of the homelessness population.
Mm-hmm.
All
And
these
and
issues
it,
connect.
and it's part of the commodification of black folk. We were commodified as being enslaved individuals, and we continue to be commodified now within our criminal justice system, within our homeless population, so on and so forth. And and again, I challenge people to do their own research, because if you do, you will recognize when we talk about money, it's actually cheaper to proactively end homelessness than it is to continue to perpetuate and attack homelessness. It's cheaper in the long term to end it, but we don't end it because, again, somebody's getting rich off of this. Somebody has commodified us and continues to get paid off of homelessness remaining. They don't want us empowered. It's Bro, we can talk about this for days. I know you got
Yeah,
some more to
man.
share.
Yeah, dude. I definitely gotta
like,
have you. I got definitely gotta
like
have
we
you back on, man. 'Cause
like we can talk about this for days.
yeah, we can go all day. Because once again, this homelessness is that an issue you see politicians talking about? Hell, even progressive politicians don't talk about because they know it's not. It's something you don't bring up. like
Right. I mean, I don't see, again, and it's something that we can end, like
yeah,
literally
easily.
end, like we foreseeably end. So I don't see, definitely, damn sure, don't see enough politicians talking about it, and I definitely don't see politicians fighting to address it, because we can actually end it. Homelessness is a man-made, a person-made issue that we can address. Housing insecurity we can address, but we don't. And like you say, disproportionately, Black individuals are represented within those populations, and we have to ask ourselves why, or hopefully we understand why.
Yeah, that's why I love every city need Casey tenants. We're very lucky in Kansas City. We have an amazing organization that called Casey Tenants that
Mm-hmm.
works with our homeless. We got like a whole homeless lobby here in Kansas City. Excuse me. Now, the fact that such a thing can even exist, the fact that there can be a homelessness lobby, like how
Right.
crazy is that? No, I bring this up, and I only bring this up because you gotta realize that we are a rarity in Kansas City. That doesn't really happen. Like Casey Tennis,
Mm-hmm.
I want to have him on my show. I want to reach out to him. I hope the organization here locally, but they are big advocates of fighting homelessness. And what they did very recently, I think last month, they was holding meetings with our Kansas City mayor. Um, Quentin Lucas, and he been waging war. He a Democrat, by the way. He waged
Mm-hmm.
war against the homeless on behalf of the Democrat Party. And Casey Tennis, for a very, very long time, have been putting pressure on him, calling him out for this. And because of the public pressure, because of COVID-19, a lot of people going homeless, but mostly because of the fact that it's very dangerous to have homeless people in the middle of a pandemic. Uh, because of the work that Casey Tennis has done in the homelessness lobby, they was managed. I need to check up on the developments of the story to be honest. Cause about 2 weeks ago, they was able to secure about 115 hotels for homeless people here in Kansas City. That's great work. Once again, me and Anthony was talking about how we got to put matters in our own hands because we can't trust
Mm-hmm.
politicians. Like we had to force our mayor to do that, and it took a ton of pressure, ton of meetings that Casey Tennis got that done. So we need to see something like Casey Tennis in cities all across the country. Once again, I'm lucky to be here in Kansas City where we have one, but there are a lot of
Right.
cities that don't have a KC tenant. And then even what they do when they push housing is not really they don't grow to the level KC tenants has done. So maybe I can get them on my show. 'Cause I would love to talk to them how they
Definitely, for sure.
got that done. I'm gonna reach out to them. I emailed with a few. I emailed with a few of them. I gotta get back to them, but these are the
Right.
kind of people that we want to amplify on our show. And also, because do you know Frank Hampton Jr.? Because I know
Yep.
C,
Chairman Fred Hampton Jr. Yep. That's the
yeah,
homie.
we want to get him on our show so bad. I know CJ was talking to someone who knows him. I don't know that
Okay.
materialized, but we got to get him on our show. 'Cause I want to talk about
I'm
the project that he was doing and
I'm gonna
um,
put y'all. I'm gonna put y'all in contact. I'm actually going to see him Friday when we drop off the
nice.
community fridge to the home. So I definitely put y'all in contact together, and y'all could go from there.
We
I mean,
appreciate
because
that, man.
brother is powerful. We recently did an event, with Ryan Coogler. Like, they appeared via Zoom. Chairman Fred Hampton Jr. was with me, where we discussed, Judas and the Black Messiah in the Maywood community. So that was powerful. His mother was on, Chairman Fred Hampton Jr.'s mother, and so on and so forth. So it was deep. So I'm definitely gonna connect y'all. And one thing I want to say about the homeless population: recognize and understand, like, attack these stigmas that exist, because basically the majority recognize how mental health plays a role in housing insecurity and homelessness, and also recognize that the majority of homeless individuals I know, they work. Like, they're extremely hard workers. They're not lazy. They're not trying to cheat the system. These are individuals that, again, are struggling because, again, we're not making a living wage. They have to work multiple jobs. They've been impacted by mental health. Something has occurred where they've gone bankrupt due to medical bills and school bills, so on and so forth. So stop attacking our homeless populations if you are, and recognize and understand these are hardworking individuals, often couch surfing if they're not in tent cities and so on and so forth. It's really deep and it's pervasive. So we have to address those stigmas and those misperceptions that exist in reference to our homeless population, because most of these individuals are employed and they're trying to do better for themselves.
Well said. Well said. Well said. This is why the issue of housing is something I talk about on my show all the time. All the time. I'm always giving these kind of updates, and I would be honored. Cause once again, we would love to talk to Frampton Jr. So we appreciate that, because what we want to do here at Frampton Left is build this Black leftist solidarity, this Black leftist movement, and then once again, just like Chairman Fred Hampton, connect that in a rainbow coalition. Like you guys see, we have a lot of different viewpoints on our show, a lot of different communities. So imagine if we build this giant Black leftist empire. Like you guys, I'm working on a lot of good things. I don't even want to announce a lot of them yet. You guys know I'm going to have Dr. Cornell West on the show very shortly. I won't be in contact with him after the 12th, because right now he's mourning his mother, unfortunately. Rest in peace, Irene B. West. So we're going to have him on the show. So we have Anthony Clark on the show. I mean, we want to bring all these Black leaders together because it was a concerted effort to break up Black solidarity and Black working class, and we kind of touched on it briefly when we talk about Black capitalism, when they turn everything into an individual game. Look how much I'm balling. Look at the rims on my car. Look at my Jordans. Drop that. Like that made my skin crawl. I guess I'm always been that way. I'm always been like more focused on like athletics and like earning stuff, and I've never been a big fan of that. So I think now, especially in the state of Black community, we gotta connect to each other. That's why I would be honored to talk to. We talked about it before. I would love to visit you guys up there one day and help you guys out.
Come through. You can stay with me if you're not gonna be in a hotel.
Dude, I'm dead serious.
I'm dead ass too. I don't just put it out there to put it out there. You know, because you mentioned the homie Rome earlier. I'm sure he told you we kicked it in Cali. You got crazy in Cali when me and Rome linked.
Love Rome, man.
I'm always willing to link with the homies, and I mean it's extremely important. And I know we don't have enough time to dig into this, but you know something else I hope people think about, because I think about it and I don't necessarily have the answer. But that individualistic mindset and how we buy into, you know, that westernized, predominantly white male ideology. Think about the impact of desegregation. Essentially, when we were segregated, it was us versus them mentality in a sense. So you had greater Black pride. You had communities like Tulsa, Oklahoma, Black Wall Street that were burned to the ground by the government. But we came together, and you had rich socioeconomic Black communities to where we were learning not to rely on the white dollar, not to rely on white individuals. We were self-sustaining, and because of that, we were attacked. Because of that, we were destroyed. And essentially, desegregating, I mean, this has some negative impact on us as a Black community in reference to Black empowerment, because individuals started moving out of the Black community, moving into the white communities, and trying to aspire with that individualistic mindset to get theirs, instead of, again, collectively watching out for each other. So we definitely have a lot of work to do to get back to that mindset of uplifting and supporting and empowering each other, because if I'm rich, that means nothing. And I'm not talking about rich money wise, like just rich in life. That means nothing if my fellow brother or sister or they aren't rich. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
We got to change that up.
Yeah, that's exactly the concept we want to bring on the show, and that's why I appreciate everyone who's been watching and supporting what we do at Fred Hampton Leftists, because people gotta understand we only started a month ago. Like we have a lot of things that we like. We want to be more than just this like media YouTube channel. That's where we at right now. Like we gotta start somewhere. But you guys see Roman traveling, doing a lot of great stuff. I want to get in a position where I can do that again. Because that's how I started. I was traveling for Bernie, telling people stories, helping radicalize our community. Like these are the kind of things that we want to do at this channel, and that's why I would love to hook up with you. I would love to like do one of the conversations at Chicago, be at one of your events. Like if we can't do stuff right now, it's hard to do stuff like that because COVID-19. But as this channel grow, as Fred Hampton Leftists grow, guys, like these are the kind of stuff we want to do. We'll hook up with Anthony Clark. Me and Rome, we talked about this before. Me and Rome, we want to travel and do mutual aid events for the Black community. This kind of stuff that we want to do at the channel for Hampton Leftists. So if you enjoyed this conversation, leave a like. The algorithm's not going to help us out as well. So you got to share this to your friend. Let us know what we're doing. If you want to get involved, that's why I shared and wanted to have you discuss the programs that you have. And we Black
Right.
with Rome is having anyone who's doing this kind of stuff. We want to amplify, we want to help, we want to support. And as time goes on, I think our project is going to grow because I'm in conversation with a lot of great Black leftist leaders, and I think it's time for us to be unapologetic and spreading our propaganda. Because if you can't beat them, you gotta join them. Straight up.
Right.
So we are propagandized to worship black capitalism. We gotta wake up people to that. We gotta get people to reject that mindset. Because I'm looking at it now. I'm gonna let you go here very soon because it's like, bro, there's so many things we can talk about. Like
No
I
question.
gotta have you back on, man. Because I told you about something that we were gonna touch base on. I didn't get a chance to even do something because I still wanna. I think we're gonna say this for next time. I still want to talk about. Actually, we can. I want to hear this from you because we got about 10 minutes left.
Okay.
And we can have a broader overall conversation about this next time we have you on. Because you're definitely a guest I want to have on pretty recently. So like Chicago,
Mm-hmm.
Fred Hampton and his legacy
Mm-hmm.
must weigh on a lot on you guys. So like, and you know Fred Hampton Jr. I think we can end it on this segment here. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what influence has Fred Hampton have on your politics? Like, what work is Fred Hampton Jr. doing right now that's inspiring you?
Right.
And as we sign off on this episode here, what would you say to not just the average black leftist, but anyone who's sympathetic to our cause? How can they help? And if you want to wrap it up on that, I think that'd be a good way to kind of
For sure.
wrap up this little series here.
I mean, Chairman Fred Hampton was and is everything to me. Like if I have like a Mount Rushmore, you know what I'm saying? Like he's in the middle. You know, you got Malcolm
Yeah.
X, Martin Luther King, Chairman Fred Hampton Jr., you know, possibly Angela Davis, Muhammad Ali, so on and so forth. But Chairman Fred Hampton Jr.'s ideology is what I follow most closely. You know, I knew his brother, Bill Hampton, you know, God rest his soul. He actually awarded me, I don't believe in individual awards, but he like gave me a Chairman Fred Hampton award for my community work. You know, I'm rocking with Chairman Fred Hampton Jr. now, trying to collaborate with him. So, I mean, he was 21, like he was in his 20s, a young brother when he was assassinated. And you know, look this up. Edward Hanrahan, he was the attorney that led the police attack on Fred Hampton, Chairman Fred Hampton. Like, and he's from Oak Park, you know, the community that I teach in now. You know, he's no longer living, but it's deep. Like, it's a lot of interconnectedness that exists. But what he preached, that again, black capitalism is not the answer. You know what I'm saying? This brother taught this. He taught this. Black capitalism does not defeat capitalism, only
Yes.
socialism. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Those are his words. The work that he did to form the Rainbow Coalition to recognize that yes, race is extremely important. Our identities are extremely important, but the ultimate war is class warfare. And if we unite and if we come together in a powerful intersectional movement, there's not shit they can do. That's why he was murdered. The brother was too powerful. I mean, the movie is called Judas and the Black Messiah, but I mean, honestly, to be that young and to be that powerful and that deep. And right now, I honestly feel like, you know how many people say, oh, we got to give people their roses. Like, he still doesn't get the respect and the admiration that I believe that he deserves. Like, he should be in everybody's textbooks. He should be in everybody's conversations when we're discussing our leaders throughout history based upon the work. And then when we talk about the community fridges that we're opening up, the Black Panther Party had the free breakfast programs. The
Mm-hmm.
Black Panther
Yep.
Party when they were doing this work, they were addressing housing, they were addressing food insecurity, they were addressing police violence in the 60s and in the 70s. And for that, they were identified as communists and terrorists. They were attacked, they were harassed. So, I mean, there's a deep legacy that continues to this day. And every policy that, you know, a Bernie Sanders may push forward or someone else may push forward, the Black Panther Party was on that. You know, Chairman Fred Hampton was on that. And Chairman Fred Hampton Jr., who's leading the Black Panther Party Cubs, continues to push forward that legacy. You know, there's a lot of things the government did to disband them, to disconnect them, but he's doing a lot of work to bring individuals back together to, you know, further unite the movement and to push this movement forward. And, you know, thankfully, you know, based upon the movie, it's brought more eyes, you know, to Chairman Fred Hampton and the work. And now Chairman Fred Hampton Jr. is trying to capitalize on that, you know, to push this ideology and unite people. So they're doing a lot of work, feeding the community, clothing the community, traveling around, you know, preaching the doctrine, trying to hopefully further radicalize individuals across this country, you know, free them all. You know what I'm saying? So it's a lot of work we got to do, but we're going to continue to do so.
That's a amazing answer, man. We gonna do everything we can to amplify you as well. One thing about that free breakfast program, guys, it was such a powerful thing that it inspired the USDA's free breakfast program, by
Yep.
the way. That's the
Yep.
legacy of Fred Hampton. And these are the kind of things that we must continue to take on our politics. And that's what we have here. Like, every once in a while, you have, I mean, I make a lot of liberals upset, so they every once in a while, they be like, how dare you call yourself and name yourself after Fred Hampton? And I'm like, it's very interesting that you think that Fred Hampton would be supportive of this two-party
Right.
duopoly. That's alone is hilarious. But secondly, I never claimed on Fred Hampton. I am very open about this. We are the Fred Hampton leftists. We're not calling ourselves that because we're saying we are Fred Hampton. We are saying that because we strive to be like Fred Hampton. I strive to be like Malcolm X. I strive to be like MLK. I strive to be like my hero Muhammad Ali. And if imagine the political situation we would be in right now, we had an entire population of young black people, instead of striving to be like ex rapper or ex basketball player, they strove to be like these revolutionary leaders. So I know I'm not perfect. We are getting there. We are trying to improve every day,
Right.
and that what makes the white liberal establishment and the white liberal mind scared. The fact that we are trying to bring that kind of politics back.
No question, because understand the system wants us to continue to say I want to be like Mike. You know,
Yeah.
no shade on Mike Jordan. They
Yeah.
want us to say I want to be like Mike. They'll be damned. They would never want us to hear you say I want to be like Fred. You know, so no question.
Hell yeah, man! But that's why it was such a good time talking to you. We definitely gotta bring you back on the
No question.
program.
Anytime, bro. I really enjoyed it. You know, thanks for everything that you continue to do, continue to fight, push forward. You know, you're rocking the boat, you know, and you're ready to swim. So I like it.
Hell yeah, man! Anyway, anything that you want to plug, anything you want to promote before we officially sign off? Anything you want to? Any last parting messages?
I mean, the only thing, you know, I tell people, I try to tell people is like, we recognize the issues that exist, you know, and clearly what we've been doing to date is not enough. So I just challenge people, like, look yourself in the mirror and ask yourself, what are you truly willing to risk and sacrifice for change? Because when you really push the envelope, when you really rock the boat, that may mean that you're never going to get promoted. You're going to lose friends. You're going to lose family. You may be verbally and physically attacked. But at the end of the day, what is this about? What is this movement about? It shouldn't be about selfies. It shouldn't be about likes. It shouldn't be about popularity. It should really be about change. So, you know, so that's all I got.
Well said, my man, Anthony Clark, Fred Hampton leftist. Glad that you joined us on. And if you
Appreciate you,
guys
brother.
enjoy this, please leave a like, cause that helps us out a lot. And I appreciate all you guys for watching, because I talked to A1 on the Fred Hampton leftist. I mean, we have no dreams to be famous, and it's always funny when people always try to accuse me of just like, oh, you just want attention and clout. Like, bro, I didn't ask for this. Like, I got my platform, and I decided to use my platform to share voices of people who are not heard, and that's
Right.
what
To
we're
help you
doing here.
further educate and radicalize. No question. Right on.
That is exactly what we plan on doing with our platform here. And I tell you guys, as we continue to grow, like, we have a lot of great plans. Like, this is going to be more than just a YouTube roundtable podcast. When we named ourselves for Evan Leftist, we didn't do that as a marketing ploy. We want to do we want to live the life that he advocated for. We want to do the kind of events that he does. You see what Roman's doing? And as more of us are able to do that, as we get more support as an organization, imagine what we will do. And that's what we're gonna do. Like, me and Anthony, we're gonna hook up one day. I'm gonna hook up with Rome one day. There are many black leftists on Twitter that I met, and many more that I want to meet in real life, and so we can actually do real things for our community. So that's the future of Fred Hampton Leftists. So please continue to support us, because we got a lot of great shows and programs that are coming up. Other than that, please follow Anthony Clark. I'm gonna put your Twitter in the comments so anyone watching the replay can find it. But anyway, man, Anthony Clark, thank you guys for watching.
Appreciate you.
This is Nick from the Fred Hampton Leftists. We're signing out. Thank you guys for watching.
Peace.